Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including EV sales continuing to grow, huge Tesla discounts with cars available for $20,000 or less, Uber taking on Tesla, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, it has been widely reported for a while that EV sales of late have slowed to the point of stagnation. While it is true that growth rates haven't been as high as they were in the earlier years of this tech's rollout, this is to be expected. Maintaining a high percentage of growth gets harder the more units you ship. Think about it pretty quickly. If you sold 20 EVs in a single year, it's pretty easy to sell 50 the next year. That's over 2x the previous year. However, when you're ramped up to sell over 1 million EVs in a year, jumping up to over 2 million the next year is incredibly difficult. In fact, typically impossible. So the more that EV sales grow, the more that growth percentage will naturally have to slow. Based on the way some people talk about EV sales, though, you might expect that the entire industry is collapsing, when that simply isn't the case. In fact, the latest EV sales data shows us just how well the market is actually doing. A recent report on car registrations from S&P Mobility shows that EV sales have been growing as of late, and their growth outpaced the entire rest of the auto market in June of this year. EV sales have been up for the entire first half of the year, with a 3.1% year-over-year increase in June to a whopping 108,026 reservations. Simultaneously, while EV sales were growing, the auto market as a whole slowed by 8.8% to just over 1.2 million units. So while EV sales still make up a comparatively small segment of the overall auto market, it is growing steadily. As of June, EVs made up 8.9% of all vehicles sold, which was a full percentage point higher than June of last year. As you might expect, Tesla still leads as the automaker with the most EV registrations, having sold almost 10 times as many electric cars as Ford in second place. Interestingly, while Tesla still has the lead, they actually did see a 2.4% decrease in sales year over year, while Ford increased by 18.2% and third place Kia by 105.9%. This does just further illustrate my point that when you are working with such low volumes of production, huge percentage point increases like this are much easier and more attainable. Tesla has already scaled up majorly, so keeping that same pace isn't as easy as it used to be. While EVs clearly have a lot of benefits over gas-powered cars, S&P also attributes the sales growth to numerous incentives available to customers. Access to tax credits like the $7,500 federal EV tax credit and the increasingly long list of local and state incentives has undoubtedly done a lot to bring these vehicles into affordability for many customers. As automakers work to bring down prices and finally introduce more affordable models, we can expect these numbers to grow even further from here. Next up today, while the $7,500 federal EV tax credit gets most of the attention as far as EV incentives are concerned, it's important to remember that that's not the only way to get a good deal on a Tesla. That particular tax credit is only available for purchases of new vehicles, but the federal government also offers a compelling incentive for buying used, a $4,000 tax credit for eligible vehicles. Buying used has always been one of the most economical ways of buying a car, but we're really seeing some crazy deals that show just how attainable one of their cars can be. Tesla has recently started listing used Model 3 vehicles on their own website with a starting price of less than $25,000. It's one thing to see these prices available from third parties, but direct from Tesla is incredibly impressive. That price point is crucially the upper cap on used vehicles, which enables them to access that $4,000 tax credit. Tesla also lists these as so. Here are two examples of Model 3s listed for sale in New Jersey, which come in at or just barely under the $25,000 cap. With the tax credit, it brings the price down on this 2020 Standard Range Plus Model 3 with less than 23,000 miles on it, down to just $20,900. That is among the lowest prices that we have ever seen for one of these vehicles, and it's a great deal for such a low mileage car. There's also a 2021 Standard Range Plus Model 3 with 39,635 miles that can be purchased for $21,000 after the tax credit. That mileage is still pretty low, all things considered, and this deal is really made that much better when you consider how long-lasting Tesla vehicles can be. It's not uncommon for EVs to last well beyond 200,000 miles when properly taken care of. So you could have this car for a long time and at a great starting price. Deals like this aren't currently available in all markets, but prices have gradually been getting lower all around. Here in Los Angeles, there are a lot of Model 3s that are starting just barely over the $25,000 cap. If Tesla could drop those prices by as little as $200 in some cases, then they could make them eligible for the tax credit. $20,000 or $25,000 has often been heralded as the ideal goal for affordable EVs, and in certain cases, it's proving easier to get one at that price. This goes to show why you should always do your research before buying any vehicle. These cars are absolutely great deals and would be extremely compelling and affordable options for many customers. At the same time, we're seeing plenty of Model Y vehicles under the $30,000 price target, which is similarly impressive. Overall, it does point to two things though. It's becoming more and more of a great time to buy an EV, particularly a used one. If you're thinking, no, I can't go EV because they're too expensive, you may want to look at all the examples here. But this also does show that Tesla vehicles definitely depreciate. These are Tesla vehicles that are only a couple years old with lower mileage, and they're still coming in at steep discounts. Next up today, as Tesla begins to shift its focus away from just being a car manufacturer and onto self-driving technology, they will be deepening their competition with a previously unlikely rival, Uber. Uber is one of the largest rideshare companies in the world, and the potentially imminent arrival of Tesla's robotaxi is a big threat to their model if it succeeds. As such, the company has been stepping up their game to stand strong against their new competition. Earlier this year, Tesla made headlines when they suddenly fired their entire supercharging team, who had, in most people's eyes, been an uncontroversially successful part of the company. Tesla has walked back that decision a bit, but plenty of other companies began to snap up that newly freed talent. Among those companies is Uber, who just recently hired Tesla's former head of charging infrastructure, Rebecca Tanucci. She will now be working with the rideshare company to fully electrify their fleet by 2040 by promoting EV incentives and building more charging stations. Tesla and Uber actually had a relationship for a while, as the two companies were working on expanding charging infrastructure in New York City to promote EV growth. As the head of the charging department, Tanucci led Tesla through a phase of unparalleled infrastructure growth, so it's exciting to see what she will be able to accomplish at another company. While Uber seems to be expanding into Tesla's market by building charging infrastructure, Tesla is conversely cutting into Uber's market by building their upcoming robotaxi project. Uber's CEO has gone on the record, however, as doubting whether Tesla can actually pull off what they are aiming for. At a base level, he says something that many FSD skeptics will probably agree with, that society at large may not be ready to accept fully autonomous vehicles. He says, quote, "Logic would dictate that if robots are twice as good a driver or 3 times as good of drivers as humans, that's good for society going forward. But I honestly don't know if society's ready to accept that. Truly autonomous vehicle software is still very new and has done a lot of growing in a very short amount of time, but many people still feel uneasy handing over complete control of their vehicles. With a robotaxi, you wouldn't even have the option of taking over if the car behaves in a way that you feel uncomfortable with. Even if these cars become safer than human drivers 100% of the time, it could take a while before a critical mass of people accept it." Additionally, he doubts whether Tesla can successfully build the software infrastructure needed to facilitate a rideshare network. Uber has had many years of experience building a platform to handle all of the things that make their services work, and it could be a tall order to jump headfirst into that world. He adds, "It's a really, really different business, you know," as well as talking about hardware. To build a $20,000 or $50,000 piece of hardware from driving over 30 million transactions every day that on a revenue basis you make $2 off of. It's just a very, very different business. He goes on to say that Tesla could benefit from partnering with a more experienced software provider and says that Uber could be that partner. It remains to be seen whether Tesla would want to partner with an outside company to provide this service, but I would wager that they want to keep it internal if they can. Only time will tell whether Tesla can not only deliver on the robotaxi itself, but also the software infrastructure necessary to make this a successful rideshare service. Beyond just that, other companies like Waymo have been paving the way for driverless taxis for a while now. In fact, the company released data on their fleet of 200 vehicles in San Francisco that points towards their cars being safer than human drivers. Waymo's internal analytics, compared to a pool of vehicle insurance claims at large, suggests that their self-driving fleet has 76% fewer accidents involving property damage compared to human drivers. Some have criticized this data, saying that Waymo vehicles haven't collected nearly enough data to actually make this claim, but the current data is promising for the technology. While some of these companies have had unfortunate accidents that prompted reassessment, Waymo states that their vehicles have not been in a single crash resulting in, quote, bodily injury. That's great to hear, and hopefully their great safety ratings can win more people over on this tech. Clearly, as it stands right now, people have some fundamental misunderstandings regarding the technology and how it works. That leads people to not trust it, but also to funny stories like this, where a man in Los Angeles tried to steal a Waymo car. After one of their cars dropped off a customer, a man entered the driver's seat and tried to put it in drive. A Waymo employee remotely ordered him to leave, but when he refused to comply, they had to call the police on him. This is a very silly story, but does go to show that the public at large still has a ways to go before they really understand how these cars work, and Tesla is going to have to face all of these things. Waymo has been very slowly expanding their operating regions, and soon we might see more and more autonomous vehicles on the road. The company has said that their latest generation of vehicles is more affordable to produce than ever, so we could see some major expansions coming to their fleet. This is another obstacle that Tesla could have to face, as current robotaxi companies are very confined in the regions that they are allowed to legally operate in. We'll have to wait and see a bit longer before Tesla's robotaxis hit the road, and whether or not they will be able to overcome these problems smoothly and quickly. Uber and Tesla seem like companies that would really only partner together, with Uber utilizing Tesla vehicles within their fleets, as they stand right now, with human drivers. But going forward, we could see these two companies competing, Uber growing and charging infrastructure to take on Tesla and maybe even open those up to people beyond Uber drivers, and then Tesla taking on Uber with automated robotaxis. Next up today, while the Cybertruck has definitely been polarizing, it has also attracted a very devoted and passionate fan base. While its exclusive nature did mean it was pretty hard to get a hold of in the beginning, Tesla's increased ramp-up has made it increasingly common on the road. In fact, recent data has shown us just how popular the Cybertruck actually is, even for being a pretty niche vehicle. Kelley Blue Book released their industry sales data for July of this year, and during that month, the Cybertruck was the best-selling vehicle in the US that costs over $100,000. Across the nation, full-sized pickup trucks have been increasingly popular, accounting for 14% of all vehicle sales just last month. The Ford F-Series and Chevy Silverado were the best-selling vehicles in the country overall, but those cost between $60,000 to $67,000 on average. Currently, most electric pickup trucks are more niche vehicles and all sit on the higher end of the price spectrum. KBB noted two major EV trucks that cost well over $100,000 on average, the Hummer EV and the Cybertruck. The Hummer EV costs $111,242 on average, and the Cybertruck was sold for $111,018. This average price seems to imply that sales have been almost equally split between the all-wheel drive and Cyber Beast variants of this vehicle, but we have to include for all sorts of different taxes and fees depending on markets. This truck costs a lot more than was originally promised at its unveil event back in 2019. In fact, sales of the Cybertruck were so high that it was able to raise the average transaction price for Tesla as a whole. According to KBB, quote, in July, Tesla's ATPs were $59,593, up 11% from 1 year ago, and at the highest point since February 2023. The Cybertruck still has a lot of room to grow, but thus far it has seemingly been doing pretty well. Current customers are already reporting how much the Cybertruck has benefited them in their daily lives. One owner out of Missouri owns a construction company and says that the Cybertruck has replaced his Ram truck for his daily driving and work needs. On the average day, he tows a trailer around town for average distances of 15 to 20 miles each way. The Cybertruck does, of course, lose range when towing, but for these kinds of short-range trips, it excels in performance and efficiency. This owner has reported that switching to the Cybertruck from his Ram truck has saved him a ton already in fuel cost. When combining his towing needs with a series of performance modifications, that Ram would get around 9 miles per gallon, which would cost around $70 per day just in fuel. By going all electric, he claims to save nearly $65 per day, which is a huge savings. Assuming a 5-day work week, that equals a $325 savings per week, $1,300 per month, or $16,900 a year less just in fuel. That's an insane savings and goes to show that going electric effectively pays for itself in this person's case. Electric trucks are great in a lot of ways, but these kinds of short-range hauls are really leagues above the competition. For new customers, Tesla has just officially released the new core wheel design with all-season tires for order. These wheels have been spotted a few times out in the wild, and now customers have the choice to pick this higher efficiency option. The original 25-inch Cyber wheels have a very cool design that fully matches the aesthetic of the vehicle as a whole, but with the included all-terrain tires, you do sacrifice some range. By switching to those 20-inch core wheels, that boosts your range up to 340 miles on the all-wheel drive variant, versus 318 with the Cyber wheels. Currently, these new wheels are only available on the all-wheel drive version. While the all-terrain tires make more sense if you are a frequent off-road driver, this added efficiency is better if you primarily drive around urban areas or unpaved roads. Some people have been critical of the aero wheel design on these core wheels, as they are not as well integrated as the original Cyber design, but that cover does give you some added efficiency over driving without them. Extra range is always great for an EV, and these should sell well as a result. On a related note, the sudden availability of a public-facing order page for the Cybertruck has caused some confusion for customers. For a while, the Foundation Series version of this truck was only available to order via invitation. Since sales started late last year, they have seemingly worked their way through the reservation queue and opened up sales for the Foundation Series on their website. Many assumed that Tesla would stop the Foundation Series and start sales of the cheaper, non-Foundation variants, but this has not been the case. As such, many were confused, and some even thought that Tesla may have non-officially canceled or at least delayed the standard range version. The truck's lead engineer posted on X to clarify the issue, quote, "Our continued goal is to make it extremely easy to order. It was overly complicated and has been simplified based on what we are producing today. The Foundation Series was initially intended to stop soon, but high demand prompted Tesla to continue production at least through late 2024. Since the cheaper base versions will undoubtedly be more popular when they are released, I wonder if Tesla will continue to sell the Foundation Series until they ramp up production to meet that future higher demand. Only time will tell." As far as test drives go, for customers in the Bay Area, you may have a unique opportunity to test drive a Cybertruck. Tesla will reportedly be bringing some Cybertrucks to the Electrify Expo in San Francisco so that interested people will be able to take it out for a spin. The Expo is one of the largest electric vehicle festivals in North America, running this year on August 24th and 25th. If you are in the area or are planning to attend the festival, this could be a great opportunity to try one of these trucks out for yourself. If you're an existing Cybertruck owner who likes customizing your vehicles, then Unplugged Performance has just unveiled a few new upgrade packages that are truly wild. The aftermarket parts brand has partnered with Archimedes Defense to produce a lineup of tactical upgrade packages that they call Sting. These packages are designed for, quote, "performance, protection, and energy independence." Engineered for both government and civilian use, Sting is built to thrive in the harshest environments, offering unmatched capability for anyone who needs to be ready for anything. These packages are available in 3 variants: Baja, Protector, and APC. These upgrades definitely look like something out of science fiction, and while they definitely aren't for everyone, it is still neat to see the many ways some people might push the envelope with their truck. Obviously, these will have a particular use case for the military. Last up today, some updates from other automakers. While many automakers are planning on eventually integrating NACS charge ports into their future vehicles, Rivian has just given us word on exactly how it will work for them. Their upcoming R2 vehicles will be the first from the automaker to implement this plug design, and they are making a big change to accommodate it. These upcoming vehicles will have their charge ports switched over to the driver's side in order to better integrate with Tesla's supercharger stalls. Tesla owners are currently expected to back into supercharger stalls, but the R2 and R3 seemed to be built to pull forward into the space. This charge port position was confirmed at a recent live showcase event where people were able to take a look at this anticipated vehicle in person. The first event was held in Pasadena, California, and I stopped by to take a look, and Rivian will be taking it on a cross-country tour for the next few months. The rest of the tour will see these cars visiting San Francisco, Vancouver, Portland, Nashville, New York, Boston, Austin, Laguna, LA, Detroit, Chicago, and finally Toronto. Tons of customers are very excited to see Rivian produce a more affordable vehicle, and as such, the R2 and R3 have drummed up a lot of interest. If you want to see these vehicles in person, check the cities I mentioned previously to see when it may be coming to a Rivian showroom near you, until February of next year. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to check out the best accessories to get for your new Model Y or Model 3, including the refreshed Model 3, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.